Hi guys, right now I am going to be working on page 30 of the workbook, which is solving systems of equations, but this is the actual practice. I know what I assigned was skills practice, but I invited you guys back here if this is something that you need more practice on. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking 3 of the examples from the top half here, and I'm going to be taking 3 of the examples from the bottom half here, completing them and giving you guys something to follow along with, and then allowing you guys to go on from there if you guys want to do some more practice, which I highly recommend if this is a topic that you're struggling with. Okay, if you do this instead of page 9, you can upload either one and I will give you credit for that. All right, so let's get started here. I'm going to go ahead and get started on number 1, and I am going to solve this system of equations by graphing. Now, in order to do that, it is something that we practice in class, is always getting y by itself. So that's what I'm going to keep doing here. I'm going to keep working to get y by itself. Remember, we have equation A and equation B, so I'm going to do them both. I'm going to completely get them into slope-intercept form, and then I'm going to graph them. Okay. Well, if you look at equation B, it is already in slope-intercept form. So there's nothing that I need to simplify on that one. However, equation A, I do need to get it into slope-intercept form. So I have x minus 2y equals 0. Okay, so then I'm going to move this positive x to the right side of the equation. So I'll have negative 2y is equal to negative x plus 0, if you so choose to put that plus 0 there. Going to divide everything by negative 2. Okay. So we're going to divide everything by negative 2. So we are going to eliminate that one. And then we will have y equals, well, it's a positive. Remember, there is a 1 here. It's just an understood one. So it's a positive 1/2. Here's our x. And 0 divided by negative 2. Well, 0 divided by anything is 0. So we can put that plus 0 back there. But again, as long as you understand that that 0 is there, it's not something that we're typically going to write. So on this equation here, my y-intercept is going to be this 0 value. So it's going to be the x is 0 and the y is 0. Okay, so this 0 is the same thing as this 0. Okay, that's the y value, the y-intercept. Now the slope is going to be the coefficient in front of x, which is 1/2. Okay, that means we're going to go start at 0, 0. And our slope tells us to go up 1, right 2. Up 1, right 2. Okay. And we talked about it in class that if we could not go up 1, right 2, we could do the opposite of both the change in x and the change in y, and we could go down 1, left 2, down 1, left 2. So we have our first one, so let's go ahead and graph that. Okay. Now for our second equation here, or for our b equation, our b value, all right, on that one, the b value, the x is going to be 0 and the y is going to be negative 3. That's this value here. And our slope is going to equal 2, but if we like it to be a fraction, we'll put 2 over 1. Okay. And go ahead and put arrows at the end of my line to show that it actually does continue on. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and graph that the second graph for equation b. On this one, I start at 0, negative 3. And on this one here, I am going to go up 2 and right 1. Up 2 and right 1. Up 2, right 1. Once I have those points in there, let's go ahead and draw that. Okay. And our solution for this one is right here where the two lines intersect. Okay. Okay, so that was equation number 1. I'm also now going to go do equation 4. Again, getting both A and B in slope-intercept form. Okay. Getting both equations A and B in slope-intercept form. So equation A is y minus x equals 3. I'm going to move that negative x to the opposite side so that I get y equals x plus 3. So our y-intercept, which is this positive 3, so our x value is always 0 for the y-intercept, and the y value is going to be 3. Okay. Our slope on this equation, even though it doesn't appear there is one, there is actually a 1 in front of the x. If we wanted to create that as a fraction, it is 1 over 1. Goes up 1, right 1. Now, when I'm looking at equation B, y is already by itself. But notice that there is no slope on this one. Okay. So it appears that all we have is that y-intercept value. Okay, so let's graph these two. The first one starts at 0. Nope, starts at 3. 1, 2, 3. And it goes up 1 to the right 1, up 1 to the right 1. Or we could go down 1 to the left 1, down 1 to the left 1. Now to graph that second one, the y-intercept is at 0, 1. Okay. There is no slope, and we talked about this in class. When we have y equals some number, that is going to be a horizontal line or horizontal graph. And if we had x equals some number, then that would be a vertical graph. Okay. Horizontal going left and right, and vertical would be going up and down. So now since we have y equals some number, this is going to be a horizontal graph. And our solution where these two meet is right there. All right, the next one that I'm going to do is going to be number 6. That's going to leave you 2, 3, and 5 to go back and practice with. All right, so problem number 6. We have equation A and we have equation B. Neither one of them is in slope-intercept form, so let's start with equation A right here. So I've got 5x minus y equals 4. So then I've got negative y is equal to negative 5x plus 4. Remember, there is an understood 1 here, which means that everything would have to be divided by negative 1. Or the shortcut to that is really just changing the sign of everything so that it's no longer a negative y, it's a positive y. It's no longer a negative 5x, it's a positive 5x. And it's no longer a positive 4, it's a negative 4. So on this one here, our y-intercept is going to be 0, negative 4. And our slope is going to be 5, and because we like it to be a fraction, 5 over 1. Both positive, so up 5, right 1. All right, now let's take equation B. So we have negative 2x plus 6y equals 4. So I've got 6y equals positive 2x plus 4. Divide everything by 6. So we have y equals 1/3 x plus 2/3. Our y-intercept on this one is going to be 0, and yes, it is going to be a fraction. And our slope, this one we like a fraction, so it's okay that that one's a fraction. It goes up 1 over 3. Okay, let's graph equation A. Equation A has a y-intercept of negative 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And from here, it goes up 5 over 1. Up 5, 1, 2, 3, or up 1 over 5. So sorry. Let me do that again. Let me erase my little marks that I have here. So it starts at 0, negative 4. And it goes up 5, right 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right 1. Okay. I won't be able to do that again, but we have at least 2 points so that we can draw the line right through that. Okay. If I could get my line straight, that would even be better. Okay. Now, the next one that we're going to graph is that B equation. So this one here starts at 0 and 2/3. So x is 0. And y is 2/3. Well, if this is 0 and this is 1, 2/3, we would have to cut this into thirds. So that would be 1/3 and that would be 2/3. So it would start at 2/3. And from there, it's going to go up 1, right 3. Okay, so again, we're going to need those little third check marks so we don't kind of keep ourselves together here. So up 1, right 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, up 1, right 3. Well, we can't go right 3, we can only go right 2. But as long as we have 2 points, we'll be able to create that line. Our one solution would be right here where the 2 of them meet. Okay? All right, so again, I leave you number 2, 3, and 5 to try for that practice and then bring back or submit that. Even if you can get 2 of those done, it would still count as that homework, okay, for just like we did on page 29. I'm going to go ahead now and do 2 of these by solving systems of equations. I'm going to be using elimination. I'm going to pick 3 of them, and I want you to pick 2 or 3 to submit for that grade. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start with number 7. All right, so I have equation A and equation B. When I'm looking at these two, I need to make sure that all the x's are lined up, all the y's are lined up, all the equals are lined up, and all the constants are lined up. So all that is valid, okay? Now what I also need to look at, though, is that which ones can eliminate, the x's or the y's? Well, if this was a -8 and that was a +10, they still wouldn't eliminate because that would give me 2x. But together, they give me 18x. All right, now look at the y's. 3y and 6y, even if this was -3y and +6y, don't eliminate. But what I do see is that I can make that 3 turn into a 6 if I was to multiply it by 2. So I could take this whole first equation and I could multiply it by 2. That would make it a 6y. I don't need it to be just a 6y. I need it to be a -6y. So what I want to do is multiply that whole first equation by -2. Okay. So -2 times 8x would give me -16x. -2 times 3y would give me -6y equals -2 times -5 gives me +10. The b equation at this point I'm not going to change because it has that +6y that I need to cancel out or eliminate. So I have 10x plus 6y is equal to -13. Now I can take those two equations, a and b, and I can add them together. -16x plus 10x gives me 6x. -6xy or 6y plus 6y, those two there eliminate, and I get equals 10 minus 3, which is 7. Now with that, I'm going to divide both sides by 6, and I get x is equal to 7 over 6. Okay, now that I have that, though, I do have to substitute that into one of the other equations to find out what my y value would be. Where would these two meet? Okay. All right, I actually just realized that I made a huge mistake here and I don't want to go back and do the whole video. So I'm going to have to undo some stuff. I'm going to undo my answer. Okay. I'm going to undo this piece and I can fix it from right here. At least I hope I can without erasing everything. This shouldn't have been a -3. Let's see. That should have actually been a -13. That's going to probably make the difference that I need to see. Okay, so I have -16x plus 10x gives me -6x. The -6y and the +6y still eliminate, and this is going to equal -3. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm glad that I caught it there before I went on forever. Divide them both by -6. Okay. -6 divided by -6, that reduces to 1. So we have x equals +1/2. I know it's still a fraction, but this fraction doesn't seem so daunting. So now I have x, and now I've got to plug x back into either equation A or equation B. Whichever one looks easier to you will be the one that is probably the best option. I'm going to look at equation B for no other reason than I can take a half of 10 and I can take a half of 6 if I needed to. So that's why I'm going to look at those ones. It's not anything, there's no proof that I'm going to use that in that way, but that's just the first thought that comes to my mind. So I'm going to have 10 times x plus 6y equals negative 13. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 1/2 and I'm going to substitute it in here. So 10 times 1/2, or 1/2 of 10, is 5, plus 6y equals negative 13. I'm going to try to zoom out some stuff here so that I can use this space to write some stuff down. Okay, so this is definitely why we've talked about in class using a separate sheet of paper to show your work for these problems, because sometimes they just don't give us enough room on this worksheet. All right. Okay, now I'm going to move that positive 5 to the right side. So I will have 6y equals negative 13 minus 5 gives me negative 18. Divide both sides by 6, and I get y equals negative 3. So my x value is 1/2. My y value is negative 3. That there is my final solution for both parts. Okay. All right, I'm going to do number 8. All right, number 8. When I'm looking at these, I can see that even though they're all nicely stacked, the 8q and the 4q are likely to find something that I can eliminate. And I can do that by multiplying this whole b equation by negative 2. Okay, so I have the a equation is going to stay the same. 8q minus 15r is equal to negative 40. Then I'm going to have negative 2 times 4q is going to give me negative 8q. Negative 2 times 2r is going to give me negative 4r. And negative 2 times 56 is going to give me negative 112. These two here are going to eliminate. Negative 15r and negative 4r gives me negative 9r. And then I'm going to have negative 40 and negative 112 is going to give me negative 162. Okay. Divide both sides here by 9, all right? And remember, they're both negative, so negative divided by a negative is going to make it a positive. Okay, so 162 divided by 9 is going to give me r equals 18. Okay, so now that I've got r, I have got to go back and find q. So looking at equation A and equation B, which one looks easier? Well, last time I picked equation B, so this time I'm just going to go with equation A. No reason other than it's just what I picked. Okay. So I have 8q minus 15 times r equals negative 40. I'm going to take this 18 and I'm going to substitute it in here. So I've got 8q, okay, a negative times a positive is a negative. And then we've got to do 15 times 18. That gives us 270 is equal to negative 40. Okay. add 270 to both sides. If 8Q is equal to 230. And then we're going to divide that by 8. And I've gotten 28.75. And just because I've got a decimal, that is something that is making me just kind of look at this again. So I want to go back and make sure that I didn't make some mistake. Okay, so solving for R. Does give me negative 270. That is 230. And I cannot find a quick mistake, and if there is one and you see it, let me know. But at this point, I see my R is 18 and my Q is 28.75. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna go on and do one more. I'm gonna do number, I'm gonna do number 15. Okay. So, you know what, actually, so that I make sure I cover them all, I'm going to do number 12. Okay. And I'm going to do number 12 because if you notice, there's nothing that I can multiply 3 by to make it 4, and there's nothing that I can multiply 2 by to make it 9. So, and this is one of those examples like we reviewed in class, we're going to have to change both equations. So I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm going to try to cancel out the m's. All right, so in order to cancel out the m's, one has to be positive, one has to be negative. Okay, one's already positive, one's already negative. But what number do 4 and 3 both go into? Well, they both go into 12. So I need to figure out what I can multiply by this first equation by to make it 12, and this bottom equation, so it would be a negative 12. Well, if I could multiply the first equation times 3, that would make it a positive 12. And the bottom one by 4, that would make it a negative 12. But remember, we're not just multiplying that first term, we're multiplying everything in that equation. So we will have, for equation A, 12m minus 6p equals 0, because 3 times 0 is still 0. Then I've got negative 12m. 4 times 9p is positive 36p is equal to 5. These two here eliminate. Then I've got 30p is equal to 5. Or we get p is equal to 5 over 30 or 1 over 6. Always better to reduce when we can reduce. Okay. Now, I'm going to take 1 over 6 and I'm going to put it into either equation A or B. Just looking at it, I might not want to start with the negative 3, so I'm going to go ahead and go with A. Okay. Either way, I'll be getting the same answer. All right. Don't know if it'll have less work at this point or not, but I'm going to go ahead and go with A. So I have 4m minus 2 times the value of p is equal to 0. The value of p is 1 over 6. So I've got 4m minus 2/6 is equal to 0, or 4m minus 1/3 is equal to 0. Now remember, I know you guys say it all the time. Can we get rid of the fraction? Yes, we can get rid of the fraction. Okay, that is something that if you want to do, you would just multiply everything by 3. All right, you'd multiply this term by 3, this term by 3, this term by 3, and that would give you larger values, but would temporarily eliminate that fraction. That doesn't mean your answer won't be a fraction though, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and keep it a fraction. So I'm going to have 4m is equal to, instead of being negative 1/3, now it's going to be positive 1/3. Okay. And now I am going to divide by 4. Don't forget how we can divide by 4. We can say divided by 4. Okay, and if I wanted to, I could make that one a fraction. So we've got m is equal to 1/3. Keep the first one, change the sign, and flip the second fraction, so that we get m is equal to 1/12. Okay. All right. So I've gone ahead and done 3 from the top part, 3 from the bottom part. I want you to pick at least 2 more that you can practice on and then upload those for tonight's assignment. All right, guys, have a great night.